Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I've done this tag for the past couple years and I've seen it all over YouTube, and I think it's a fun tag to do to kind of just summarize what you've read during the year. And I'm doing really well this year. I've read 36 books out of 50, which was my reading goal for 2019. So I believe I am, 68% done according to Goodreads. I decided to stick with only new books that I've read for the questions, and I tried not to double answer. So that way I can discuss as many new books as possible. So question number 1 is, what is the best book you read all year? So this is a really easy answer for me because I just read this book and I've already read it twice in the month of June, and that is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I love this book so much. It was so good. Like I said, I read it all the way through, and as I was reading it the first time, I was going back over and rereading some of my favorite scenes, and then I read it again recently. So I adored this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, obviously, because I pretty much read it kind of like 3 times in 1 month. But we follow 2 main characters, Alex, who is the son of the President of the United States, and then we follow Henry, who is the prince, and they end up having a relationship, and it's so good. There's great sass, there's great banter, there's great character development, there's great drama. It's so good. I really loved it. If you love adult romance, then I highly recommend picking this one up because it was fantastic. Question number 2 is, what is the best sequel you've read? And for this one I have 2 because I couldn't narrow it down between these 2. The first one is The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee. The things that happened in this book I would have never guessed, never predicted, and it was just a great time. The characters are fantastic. Felicity is amazing. She's probably one of my favorite characters. I think I enjoyed The Gentleman's Guide more than The Lady's Guide, but I think I enjoyed being in Felicity's perspective more. So in this book, we follow Felicity's point of view, and it happens after The Gentleman's Guide, and she is basically trying to find a hospital that will allow her to apprentice or learn to become a doctor. And during this time period, it's historical fiction, it's set in the 1700s, and during this time period women didn't become physicians, and she's kind of trying to break that stigma. The sass is so good, the banter is great, amazing character development. We also got to see Percy and Monty from the first book, and it's a great read. The next book that I am going to vote as the best sequel is God's Grave by J. Kristoff. This is the second book in the Nevernight trilogy. It was so good. I listened to the audiobook. I highly recommend listening to the audiobook. If you can't get through Nevernight because of all of the footnotes, then please listen to the audiobook. It just completely changes the experience of reading it because it just flows so well and you don't know that you're reading a footnote. And God's Grave, the story just hits the ground running. There's not as much world building as there is in Nevernight, so you're getting more into the meat of the story and the conflict, and we're really seeing Mia thrive as an assassin, and she's just so badass. She's amazing. Once again, this is definitely adult, but if you like adult fantasy with assassins, like if you loved the Throne of Glass series, then I highly recommend reading this because it's just as good, but it's more adult. So question number 3 is a new release that you want to read this year. So this book has not been released yet. It is going to be released in July, but I didn't want to use this as my most anticipated because I have a most anticipated book for the second half. And because it's being released in July, I'm still considering it as like mid-year, so it'll be released soon, but that is Soul of Stars by Ashley Poston. So this is the sequel to Heart of Iron. I really enjoyed this one. There's so much going on in this story that it's really hard to explain exactly what's going on. Honestly, it kind of reminded me of a little bit of like a hybrid between Star Wars and Cinder. The story went in a direction that I loved. There is a romance in here that I wasn't expecting, that I adored, and yeah, I'm really excited for the second one. So keeping along the same theme, question number 4 is your most anticipated book for the second half of 2019, and that is Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. This is the sequel to Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. Carry On is probably one of my favorite books. I adore it. I have read it probably like 5 or 6 times, and it's amazing, and I am so excited that there's going to be a sequel, but I am very nervous because I love the way that it ended in Carry On. I hope we don't get any of that relationship drama of be together, like break up, come back, you know, together, break up, like a lot of YA fiction has. So I really hope we don't have that, but I think she'll do it justice, and I have a feeling it's going to be really good because so many people are going to be upset if 2 characters do not end up together, is all I have to say. So I'm really excited, but I am really nervous. And Wayward Son is scheduled to be published on September 24th. Question number 5 is your biggest disappointment. So for this one, I also have 2. The first one is And I Darken by Kirsten White. So I read this book as a book exchange for Hannah, and unfortunately, I was really disappointed. I had heard a lot of really good things about it. It's a historical fiction gender swap for Vlad the Impaler, and we follow our main character Lotta, and she is said to be like brutal and ruthless, and she is trying to, I don't even know how to describe what the book is about, honestly, because it just, so many weird things happen. Honestly, I didn't connect with the characters. I didn't like the plot. I don't know, Lotta really rubbed me the wrong way. There was like weird unrequited love triangle. I don't know. I didn't care for it. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars, and I feel like that's being generous because there are some parts of it that I liked, but honestly, it's not a book that's going to stick with me, which sucks because I want Hannah to like it. I think she might like it because it is more character driven than plot driven, whereas I need plot along with my character development. So she may really like it, but I'm not going to continue on with the story, and honestly, I don't really recommend it unless, like, I don't know, it's just mediocre, honestly, compared to everything else that I've read with YA fiction. And YA fantasy, it's really just mediocre, especially with like the historical fiction aspect of it. And next, I wanted to mention The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. So with this one, it was okay. The magic system was really interesting. I really did enjoy it. It was unique, and I hadn't seen a magic system like that before. But unfortunately, the plot was kind of all over the place. Like, I had trouble following. Like, we would be in one scene and then it would just cut to another scene without any transition. It just didn't flow very well. It was just really choppy writing, and I didn't connect to the characters either. But the idea itself was really interesting, and like I said, the magic system and the world was really cool. So I am not going to continue on. I was expecting to enjoy this one a lot more than I did, but I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars as well. The next question is your biggest surprise for 2019, and this one was such a surprise. I honestly thought I wasn't going to enjoy it. Well, I thought I was going... Let me back up and explain. So for this one, I'm going with Sadie by Courtney Summers. This book was amazing. So heart-wrenching, beautifully written, just tough subjects that it covered, but it was done so well, and it was phenomenal. So in this story, we follow two perspectives. We follow Sadie's perspective, and her sister Maddie was brutally murdered, and now she is out to seek revenge on her sister's killer. And then we follow Wes, who is doing a podcast about Sadie going missing. And it's really interesting the way it's done. There's like two different timelines, and it's just, like I said, it's done so well. The biggest reason that I didn't think I was going to like this book is because it deals with really, really tough subjects. The biggest ones being child abuse, substance abuse, child neglection, child abandonment, pedophilia. Those are really the hard ones that it deals with, and I don't like reading books where children die and child abuse. I work in the medical field, and I see enough of that in real life that I don't want to read about it. So I typically stay away from books like that, like books where kids have cancer. Like, I will never read TFIOS. But I was so surprised with how much I loved this book and how much I could not put it down despite all of these hard subjects. And I think that's because the author does such a fantastic job at not glorifying these tough subjects. She alludes to them. She kind of uses flashback, but she never outright shows us some of the tougher scenes. We know what is happening, but we don't see it happen. So I think that's what made it a lot easier to read, and it was amazing, and I highly, highly recommend it. Also, this was a Muggle Studies book club pick for Hannah and I, and so was The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy. So I will leave both of those linked down below if you want to go check out our spoiler review on both of these books. Question number 7 is your new favorite author, and this is going to be a little bit of a repeat, and because I'm going with Casey McQuiston with Red, White, and Royal Blue. I'm not sure if this is her debut novel. I tried to look up more by her and I didn't see anything, so I think it is. I adored her writing style. It was so good, and I can't wait for her to release more books because I'm definitely going to read them. Question number 8 is newest fictional crush. Honestly, I didn't connect with any new characters in the books that I read as far as like crush worthy. So if I had to just like throw a name out there, I did reread A Court of Mist and Fury. So of course, Cassian wins all the way. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry. And honestly, I thought Sadie would have made me cry, but it actually didn't. The book that I'm choosing is 180 Seconds by Jessica Park, and I really enjoyed it, but I was bawling at the end. So I'm not gonna like go into any spoilers or anything, but once again, like I said, things where kids are sick or ill and things like that, I have a soft spot for, and it just makes me really sad, and I was ugly crying. It was bad. So yeah, this book definitely made me cry. So in this story, we follow our main character, Allison. She was adopted at 16 years old, and she is in her 3rd year of college, and she's basically trying to navigate college, navigate friends, dating, and basically just having a connection with her adoptive father. And it was really beautiful. I really enjoyed it. I love the relationship between Allison and Simon, which was her adoptive father. And also there was a cute romance in here as well. It is like a romance book. It's a young, I would say new adult or young adult romance, contemporary, but I enjoyed it a lot, and it also made me cry. The next question is to pick a book that made you happy, and I would love to re-pick Red, White, and Royal Blue because I was smiling and giggling and just the entire time, but I ended up going with What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. It was also a Muggle Studies book club pick, so I will leave it down below. I ended up giving this one a 5 out of 5 stars as well, and I really enjoyed it. I read it, I think, in like 2 days. It was really quick despite how chunky it is, and it was really a cute, fluffy, contemporary read. We're following a male-male romance in New York, and it is their summer before college. And I thought it was super cute, fun, fluffy, made me smile the entire time. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Okay, we're almost done. 2 more questions. Question number 12 is a beautiful book that was given to you or that you bought. For this, I'm going with Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Just look at this gorgeous cover. Just, so pretty. The way that the title is written, and it's just, all in all, this book is beautiful. The book Naked is, you know, it's basic, but as far as like the cover, purple's my favorite color, and I loved it. I think it's so good. And the last question wants to know what books are on your TBR for the second half of 2019. And for this, I do have quite a few books that I do want to read by the end of the year, and some of them I definitely will because they are Muggle Studies Book Club. So Hannah and I have finally decided that we are going to read the Grishaverse. So we are reading the Shadow and Bone trilogy, or is that what it's called? The Shadow and Bone trilogy? I'm not sure, but we're reading this one, and then we're reading the Six of Crow duology for our Muggle Studies book clubs, and we're actually starting it in July. So July is going to be Shadow and Bone, and then it's going to be Siege and Storm, Ruin and Rising, Six of Crows, and then Crooked Kingdom. So I'm really, really excited to get to these. And also on my list is to read Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody. I'm halfway through it, and I kind of just feel like finishing it because I have so many books that I'm halfway through on my shelf that I think I need to just read them. And then the last book that I really want to get to is Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Adeyemi, and this was my book exchange that Hannah gave to me, and she read this book, annotated it, and then she gave it to me. So I'm really excited to read it and read all of her annotations. Like here's one where she says, "I hate that." So I'm really, really excited, and she, I believe, gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. So I have a feeling I'm really, really going to enjoy it because I trust Hannah's reviews. Yeah, that is it for this book tag. If you have not done this tag, I think you definitely should, and I will see you next time in another video. Bye!